All right, shalawam. First off, I want to say all praises to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of GMS, and to the elect doing the work in sincerity and in truth. Shalawam. GMS precepts here. Nazar Khad. This article here, as you can see, it says top 10. First of all, America's through. America's done. All right. There's no coming back. I mean, look at this title right here of this article. Let me see if I can. This is, you can't see all of it. Economic collapse. I'll put the article in the description and read it. It says, if you didn't know already, 10 numbers that show the U.S. has fallen into a horrifying economic depression. This is dated 2 days ago. It's the 19th. This is as of May 17th, 2020. And this coronavirus, even before the coronavirus, the economy wasn't too good. All right, but we were what I believe we were in the 20. We were around 22, 23 trillion in the beginning of the year in debt. That's a national debt. Now we know the actual debt is higher than that, but it was around 23 trillion, 22, 23 trillion. Now I believe we're at 25 trillion in debt, or 24, 25 trillion. They say we're gonna reach 30 trillion by August. All right, and this coronavirus is just exasperating or accelerating that. All right, so let's go into these numbers. Right, so number one, it says according to a study that was just released by the National Bureau of Economic Research, more than 100,000 businesses have already been permanently shut down during this pandemic, and that represents millions of jobs that are never coming back. All right, so 100,000 jobs, and a lot of these jobs are small. Majority of them are small businesses. All right, and a lot of them that shut down. Remember, said it. They are never coming back. Okay. You had a few. This year. It was projected. 12,000 stores will be closing. Right. Either they're going out of business or they're just downsizing their stores, like Macy's, Lowe's. You know what I mean? Why? Because the economy wasn't doing too good. Retail has been going down. Like stores like Sears, Bed Bath and Beyond, all those stores. And then you had a few stores that are just totally going out of business. Like I believe earlier this year, Payless, they closed all their stores down, a majority of their stores down. I think there's just online or whatever. I have to, brothers could just could double check. But you have stores that are totally closed down, right? Not coming back, and then you had stores that are just downsizing. It was projected 12,000 stores this year. Once this coronavirus hit, that number shot up to 20,000. Right, 20,000 stores either or companies either closing their stores or going out of business and filing for bankruptcy. All right. So this isn't good. So this is another one. The Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta is now projecting that the U.S. GDP will shrink by 42% during the second quarter. The first quarter is the first 3 months, January, February, March. The second quarter is January, February, March, April, May, and June. So the second quarter, by projecting that the second quarter is going to shrink by the GDP, gross domestic product of America, will shrink by almost nearly a half. Okay, a new GDP forecast from the Federal Reserve of Atlanta for the 3 months through June estimates an unprecedented 42% drop. The bank describes the data as a nowcast or real time compared to the official government report. The first quarter preliminary data which showed 4.8% dip included a limited period of the impact. See, so in the first quarter it dipped 4.8%. The second quarter they project 42%. God damn. America's through. I didn't even read that. I just skimmed through this. America's done. All right. A few articles a few articles ago that I read, they said the household debt reached what it in 3 months it reached what it reached in 8 months during the housing crash in '08. Right? So let me repeat that. In the first 3 months of this year, we already reached what we reached in 8 months during the housing crisis as far as household debt. Now, household debt is a good indicator of the economy, right? Um, if household debt is at record low, that means what? The economy is doing good. But right now, they're at record high. And we've reached, like I said, I believe in the first quarter it was like 12% household debt, 12.2 billion, I believe. In 8 months, in the housing crisis, the household debt was like 14.3 billion, right? So, um, or those numbers might be reversed, right? We already exceeded what we reached in 8 months, right? So, that's an indicator of how screwed up and what bad shape the economy's in, right? Number three, on Friday we learned that U.S. retail sales were down 16.4%. Another all new record, a new all-time record for retail sales in the month of April. Factory output down 13.7%, another record, right? It says, and that's the worst number ever recorded. U.S. industrial production fell 11.2% last month and represented the worst number in 100 years. I mean, goddamn. You know, once again, top 10 numbers that show the U.S. is falling into a horrifying depression. Where I'm at. Yeah. On Thursday, we learned that the number of Americans that have filed for unemployment claims benefits during the pandemic risen 2.9 billion, which brings the grand total to what? 36.5 million. Okay? Um and it says, to put that number in perspective, at the lowest point of the Great Depression in the 1930s, only 15% of Americans were unemployed. So we're worse. We're double that now. Okay? According to the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, the real rate of unemployment is now 30.7%. Now, once again, another article that I did a few weeks ago, it said that the unemployment would be, in June, it would be like 24 to 35% unemployment rate. Look at this. In Chicago, they're estimating they're already at that number. They're already at 30%. And, that number projected for June, we're in May. We're in the last 2 weeks in May. We still got 2 weeks left in May. Okay? Before June hits. So we'll see once June comes what the numbers are. All right? But unemployment was just going to keep going. It's just going to keep getting worse. Because even though the economy is starting to open up again, you have companies that are not opening ever again. Right? It says, and 100,000 businesses have already been permanently shut down, and that represents millions of jobs that are never coming back. Never. I believe, and I was going to stop, but I might as well finish it. I'm at 8 already. According to the survey, Fed officials conducted, almost 40% of Americans with a household income of less than $40,000 per year say they have lost a job during the crisis. One study has concluded that 42% of job losses during this pandemic will end up being permanent. You see? That's nearly half. So nearly half of the job losses during the pandemic, guess what? Once the pandemic is over, or pandemic ain't over, or once the restrictions come back or lifted, guess what? They still out of a job. According to the professor of economics at Columbia University, the U.S. homeless population could rise by up to 45% by the end of the calendar year. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this article in the description, but hey man, it's not looking good for America. Okay, I got one more article and then I got a scripture. This is from MarketWatch.com. Over 4 million Americans are now skipping their mortgage payments. Okay, Over 4 million Americans are skipping their payments. The pace of homeowners requesting mortgage relief because of the coronavirus pandemic has slowed considerably, right? But keep reading, right? Fewer Americans are calling their mortgage services to ask for relief from mortgage payments, but the housing industry isn't out of the woods. More than 4.1 million owners are in the forbearance plans now, according to the latest data. So I'll leave this as well. Okay, so you got a lot of people. Guess what? They're skipping their payments, man. Why? Because the majority of people they're not working now. There is a few people are getting that relief. Okay, are getting a the unemployment and the stimulus money, right? That weekly payment, right? Also, since I mentioned that, this is another article. It's 3 in 4 Americans agree for universal health care during the coronavirus pandemic, meaning I'll leave this in there too. It says it basically says 80% of people are with universal health care dealing with the COVID-19, meaning the insurance company should pay for anything COVID related, right? But look at this. It says more than 8 in 10 adults agree that the country should provide monthly stimulus checks to citizens until the outbreak ends, right? So that's people. So even though people are receiving this money, it's not enough. They still can't cover all their expenses, right? All right, so we're just and really that's gonna further um fuck up the economy. That's gonna put America more in debt, right? Because they're just creating all this stimulus money. They're infusing money. That's gonna cause hyperinflation, right? You're infusing money into the economy. You're creating money not backed by anything, and that's gonna just draw the value of money down. Okay, right? So real quick, this is Isaiah 19:6. This whole chapter is good. I'm just get to the point here. This is Isaiah 19:6. It says, "In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and in fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it." Right. So Egypt, that represents America. And you Americans, you're gonna know that all this chaos, once we get closer and closer to the Lord's return, you're gonna know that all of this is being done by the Most High. Okay, you're gonna have a lot of atheists that are gonna stop being atheists, and they're gonna acknowledge, they're gonna realize that, damn, this is done by the Most High. This is done by who the word ignorantly calls or refers to as God, man. All these plagues happening. You're gonna see more and more chariots. Basically, the more Esau tries to hamper down and go along with his plans, the more the Most High is gonna show himself and reveal himself, okay, and go along with his plans. All right, so we're approaching that day, man, and we're at the, it's just gonna get worse. And the people of Egypt, they're gonna be as women. They're gonna be scared. They're gonna fear, and they're gonna not have any answers. Okay. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking in the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. All right. So, Lord willing, you brothers and sisters were edified. Until the next show, shalawam.